Professor D. Devanathan he is a Director of Student Affairs from Annamalai University, and Dr. Krishna sir as the session co-chair. Today's session brings together distinguished scholars who will discuss important themes related to language politics, government models, social movements, gender relations, and political transformation in South India. So there are 4 distinguished speakers in this session, and each speaker will have approximately 12 to 15 minutes for their presentation, and followed by brief comments and from the chair and co-chair, and then a short discussion or question and answer session. So I would like to take the permission from the chair and co-chair for starting the session. So sir, can we start the session?
Hemant sir, please hand over the session to co-chair and sir
will Okay. So I invited to the chair and co-chair for chairing the session. Krishnamurthy sir, please, over to you.
We have Mr. Dr. Kiran M. Gajanur, Department of Public Administration, Central University of Karnataka, Kalaburagi, talks about the trajectory of social movement in India. Yeah, please, Kiran.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay. At the outset, I thank Indian Research Scholar Association.
What visible, please?
Yep. 1 second. Hope I'm visible now.
Yeah.
Okay. At the outset, I wanted to thank Indian Research Scholar Association for organizing this 2-day national webinar on rethinking political, social, and economic dynamics in South India. I also sincerely my apology to the organizer because I am not able to communicate properly because I was part of my refresher course which is happening in CUAP. So that's what I choose this time, particular 2 o'clock to 2:30. So in between that, I just wanted to present my because of that engagement is there with me. I to then I try to refer one of the important book which is published in 2016, and I try to bring those arguments and try to critically engage with the social movements of contemporary India. This is a thing that I'm trying to do. With my first point, to understand the trajectories of the social movements in India. If you look at the social movements in India, it started from 19th century, which is basically a socio-religious reform, and it traveled into anti-colonial nationalist struggle. Then later, in post-independence time, we have a phenomena called new social movement. This is a kind of a category that I just wanted to make. From 19th century, it was socio-religious reform movements were there in India, and then it also transcended itself into anti-colonial nationalist struggle. The later, after independence, we have a new phenomena called the new social movements. So what are all the historical trajectories of this social movements in India? That I'll try to put it into a particular framework. First of all, in the 19th century, socio-religious reform movements in India, the focus of this particular movement was modernizing traditions and fighting social evils like sati, child marriage, and caste discrimination. So this is a focus of the 19th century social movements in India, which were called as a they were give a call for socio-religious reforms. And key movements of that time, Rajaram Mohan Rai's Brahma Samajo, that particular, and Dayanand Saraswati's Arya Samaj, and Jyoti Rao Phule Satyashodhak Samaj. And these are all the very, very important movement of that time. And we are all very much aware about the way that Rajaram Mohan Roy brought his modern ideas into the social discourses of India, as well as Dayanand Saraswati and Jyoti Rao Phule. Is an anti caste movement that gave rise to a long history of anti-caste movements in India. And later phase that we this particular socio-religious reform in India transcended into anti-colonial and nationalist phase. The nature of anti-colonial as well as nationalist phase of social movement in India, which started in early 20th century up to 1947, up to the independence. The very focus of this particular movement was political independence and unification of diverse social group against British rule. And this is very, very important thing to understand. I think if the country like India, having very, very diverse, kind of a socio-political, reality. So it is not only a diverse socio-political reality. Ideologically, also there is a very much diversity was there in our, nationalist movement. There was a left, there were conservatives, there were the communists, there was a socialist. So all these groups were there. But even though the nationalist movement was capable to bring them into one particular consensus on the argument of bringing political independence and unification of diverse social groups of British rule against the British rule. The very focus was fight against the British rule. Even though we have so much of diversity, that's what I said. We had a left idea of freedom and the conservative idea of a freedom, as well as we have a socialist and communist idea of a freedom. All these kinds of discourses were there in that particular time in the social movements. But one point, they were all have one particular consensus that they want to fight against the British rule. So this is a kind of a movement that we witnessed in that particular phase. So especially the non-cooperation movement, civil disobedience movement, Quit India movement, and so on and so forth, we can just mention. The later, after 1947 to present, right? We categorize this kind of this time of a movement as a post-independence and new social movements. And focus was shift from state building to identity-based environmental issue. This is a important shift that happened, because in the 19th century socio-religious movement and anti-colonial and nationalist phase, the important focus was building a nation, building a country, building a democratic country. That was a major argument of those movements. But in the third phase, that is post-independence or new social movements, so the focus was shifted from state building to identity-based environmental issue, often arising when institutional changes fail to address the grievances. I'm a student of political science. So if you look at the post-independence political scenario, there were a time where the regional voices came into larger discussion. So that's the reason we also witnessed to the era of coalition politics. Why? Because the mainstream, the politics was not represented the regional issues, which are very, very pertinent of that time. That particular, and those regional aspirations were always, based on some of the identities, like identity of language, identity of a caste, identity of a gender. So these kind of, movements were started in that particular, time. That's what the paradigm shift from nation building to identity based. And why it was shifted from nation building to identity politics, because the mainstream, the political discourses were not gave the enough the entire nature of social movement changed after the post-independence movement. And old versus new, the old movements, like for example, labor and present movements were there typically focused on material economic issues, because within this particular movement, like the post-independence movement, there are again old and new. We can make a categorization. The initial days of this particular phase, there were a movement on labor and peasant issues. That means that these particular movements were more, focused on material and economic issues, while new social movements, which we called as a new social movement of today, example, environmental, feminist, and LGBTQ, often focus on culture, identity, and lifestyle. So this particular categorization was there within the third categorization of social movements in India. So what are all the major, contemporary social movements? Agrarian and peasant movements, and environmental movement, and anti-caste and Dalit movement. So these are all the very important movement that we witnessed, as well as the women's movement, especially women's rights movement, which started, from the 19th century, and we can also witness the Nirbhaya, movement, as well as Me Too India, all these things that movement we are witnessing, which are basically as identity-based movement. And digital dissidence, since from 2014, movements were increasingly utilize social media and rapid mobilization. For example, anti-CAA protest 2019 and 20, and various climate justice campaign. So these are all the just a trajectories of Indian social movements that we witnessed. I'm just trying to give you a broader framework of the historical framework of the social movements, how they started from 19th century, and what kind of social movements that we are witnessing in the contemporary time. And what is my important argument? The important argument, I'm taking a reference of one of the important book which is published in 2016, The End of Protest, a new playbook of revolution, written by Mika White. It is very, very important book. And then one thing that I just wanted to inform you, all the audience. So Mika White is one of the important, member of the Occupy Wall Street movement in America, which happened, right? And he's part of that. He himself called as a co-founder of that particular movement. Like that Occupy Wall Street was transcended into so many countries, like Occupy UGC was happened, Occupy. This was so many movements were started with the Occupy name after this particular movement. But after that experience, he wrote one important book, which is well read and well discussed in the intellectual circle. The title of that book is The End of Protest, a New Playbook for Revolution, written by Mika White. So what was the core idea of this book? The book argues that traditional protest has become ineffective. That is an important argument. I mean, he was giving one example. Like, look, earlier, whenever the people used to protest, at least the people, those who are passing from that road, they used to come and sit and stand and watch that particular protest, and they are they're interested to what are all the causes of this protest. They were having a dialogue with the people, those who are protesting. These scenarios are not gone now. If 10 to 15 people or 100 people are protesting, all other peoples are not even looking at them. This is a kind of a scenario that we are witnessing today. That's what he said, that the traditional protest has become inefficient and creating, why? Because it failed to creating real political and social change. So that's what White calls this as an end of protest. So I mean one thing that we must make a note of here, he was not said that the protests are disappear, right? He was not said that protests are disappearance, but protests are decline in meaningful. I mean they were not capable to convince the people about their fight. That's the way that he was trying to say that end of protest. It doesn't mean that he was not saying that protests are not significant, but the nature of protest, nature of social movements that we are witnessing today, they were not capable to convince the masses about their own demand. This is what his argument. I mean, he was talking about the nature of social, limitations in the nature of social movements, rather than he was not rejecting the social movement. He was saying that social movements are required, but the nature of social movement which we are witnessing today, they were not effective enough. That's what his argument. And what was his key arguments? The protest is broken. this is what he says. So modern protests are often predictable, symbolic, and easy controlled by the authorities. Today in contemporary social movements, they were predictable and they were symbolic generally. They were not very powerful, but they are symbolic and easily controlled by authority. So governments allow protest because of they no longer threaten power structure. So look at today in Bangalore, because I am from Karnataka. Earlier, so we had multiple places to protest against the state or any authority which is exploitative. We had multiple places in Bangalore to protest, and now you can't do that. If you want to do a protest, you had to run a social movement, or you had to do the dharana. You need to do it in a freedom park. You are given a specific place to do your protest. You cannot do it in front of Vidhan Sabha. You cannot do it in Kaban Park. You cannot do it in any other place. You have to do it in the freedom park. That's how the authorities or the state or prabhutva, what we call in Kannada, they were allowing the kind of a social movements which no longer threaten the power structure. So that's what is the result of this. Larger protests happen, but they rarely produce systemic change. There are huge protests are happening every day in a metropolitan city like Hyderabad, Karnataka, Madras in South India. So much of movements are happening, but rarely they producing a systemic change. So this is a kind of Mika White was talking about American phenomena. The same phenomena also we are witnessing here in the South India as well. So that's what he says, that lesson from the Occupy Wall Street. When he said that White heavily, from his experience with Occupy State Wall, he calls it as a constructive failure. Even though the Occupy Wall Street was a big, movement in the history of, the American, social movement, but he after doing that kind of a social movement, he also said that it is a constructive failure. It mobilized millions and spread globally, but failed to achieve concrete political change. Even though it became so popular.
Sorry to interrupt you. You have 3 minutes remaining, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So put together, what I'm trying to argue is, even though India had a large legacy and a huge legacy of social movements from the 19th century to contemporary, but contemporary social movements are facing a very important crisis. The crisis is, now we were not, contemporary social movements are not enough to influence the power structure. So why? We don't know. We need to explore the reason for that. I think we need to look into the nature of social movements that we are organizing today, and we need to look into the very idea of social movement, and we need to do the self-introspection to correct that one, so that social movements can really influence power structure. Today's contemporary social movements are huge. They are in big number. They are capable of mobilizing lakhs of people, but they are failed to influence the power structure. That means the today's state is also becoming an accommodative kind of a social movements which are not bother their power structure. So this is a kind of a situation where we are standing in the history of social movements in India. So I think that's what my primary argument is. We need to look into the very concept of social movements in India, and we need to discuss more about its nature and its contemporary relevance, and that particular way of looking at into a social movements may help us to make social movements meaningful, because social movements are very much required. Without social movements, we cannot address the common people problem. But what kind and what nature of social movement that we need to start today, that is a big question. I think we need to focus. As a community of intellectuals, we need to look into this problem where the social movements are not enough efficient to convince the power structure to people's cause. Then if you develop a different kind of a perspective, new kind of a perspective, which might help the contemporary social movements to influence the power structure to address the people problem. So this is what I just wanted to explain. I think I stop here. If we have any question, any discussion, we can take those discussion in the discussion time. So Once again, I thank all the organizers who allowed me to speak my some ideas. They were actually not properly organized. I know because of so much of other engagement which I had in the last 10 12 days. But even though in between they bear my limitations and they allowed me to speak, I thank Vikas Kumarji, and I also thank all the panel members, as well as I know Sheela Reddy madam is there. I don't know because the stalwarts are there, but still I'm able to put my small framework which I'm trying to think about. So once
Yeah,
again,
I think we go for a question and answer session.
At the end of the session, we will take the question and answer.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay, that's fine. We have second speaker on governance and development models, welfare-oriented governance in South India. Professor Sheela Reddy, Dean, School of Art, Humanities and Social Science, Central University, Andhra Pradesh.
Yeah, thank you so much. Am I audible?
Yeah, audible now.
Thank you. So the session chair, Professor D. Devanathan, Professor of Political Science and Director, Student Affairs, Annamalai University. Session co-chair, Dr. Krishna Murthy. And of course, Vikash Kumar, the Indian President, Indian Research Scholars Association, and other esteemed faculty members and scholars who have joined this very important webinar. I'm thankful to Vikash Kumar for giving me this opportunity. In fact, I was asked a few days back, and then I just asked him to share the concept note. So when I saw the concept note, few lines in the concept note prompted me to choose my topic for this webinar. The lines in the concept note are, that is, this particular webinar aims to explore the rapidly changing political, economic and social landscape of India's South region. And another interesting sentence is, South India has played a distinctive role in shaping India's political landscape, and with strong regional identities, influential social reform movements and alternative development models, the region offers a unique perspective on governance, federalism and democratic practices. So these lines prompted me to speak on governance and developmental models, welfare-oriented governance in South India. I'll try to be as brief as possible, though I am trying to attempt a very broad canvas. To start with, in contemporary political discourse, governance has evolved beyond the traditional functions of administration and law enforcement. Today, governance encompasses a broader commitment to inclusive development, social justice, and the equitable distribution of resources. So let me talk about a bit of welfare-oriented governance. Welfare-oriented governance represents one of the most significant approaches adopted by democratic states to ensure that development reaches every section of society. The concept of welfare-oriented governance draws inspiration from the idea of the welfare state, which emphasizes the responsibility of the state to ensure social security, reduce inequalities, and promote human development. In the Indian context, these principles are embedded in the directive principles of state policy of the Constitution, which guide governments in designing policies that promote social and economic justice. Thus, we can say welfare governance in India is not merely a political choice, but also a constitutional commitment. It represents the aspiration to create a society where development benefits all citizens, particularly the most disadvantaged. However, implementing welfare policies in a country as large and as diverse as India presents enormous challenges. Economic constraints, administrative capacity, regional disparities, and political dynamics often influence the design and effectiveness of welfare programs. This is where The present webinar assumes importance because regional experiences become particularly important. So South India certainly presents an illustrative case for examining the relationship between governance structures, developmental models, and welfare policies. Welfare-oriented governance, in fact, has become a defining feature of political and developmental processes in several South Indian states. States such as Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, and Karnataka have experimented with different models of welfare-oriented governance, often combining economic development with social protection and human development initiatives. These models, which I'll be talking about a bit in a short while, raise some important questions. How does welfare governance shape development outcomes? Can welfare policies coexist with economic growth? What lessons can be drawn from South India for the broader Indian developmental experience? The roots of welfare-oriented governance in South India lie in social reform movements and regional political mobilization. If I have to start with Tamil Nadu is known for institutionalizing welfare politics. For several decades, Tamil Nadu has been known for its extensive network of welfare schemes and social programs. The political landscape of the state has been shaped significantly by social justice movements that emphasized equality and the upliftment of marginalized community. In Tamil Nadu, the influence of the Dravidian movement played a crucial role in shaping policies aimed at social justice, caste equality, and welfare distribution. Leaders such as C.N. Annadurai and M. Karnataka introduced programs that expanded public welfare and social services. Since the 1960s, major parties such as DMK, AIA-DMK competed by expanding welfare schemes, which gradually made welfare policies a stable institution rather than temporary promises. One of the most celebrated welfare initiatives in Tamil Nadu has been the midday meal scheme, which provides free meals to school children. This program not only addressed issues of child nutrition, but also significantly improved school enrollment and attendance, particularly among children from disadvantaged backgrounds. Over time, Tamil Nadu expanded its welfare programs to include subsidized food distribution, healthcare initiatives, housing programs, and social security schemes for vulnerable populations. But there are certain observations. Running large welfare schemes requires high government expenditure. This may create a state debt. But since the rise of Dravidian movement, parties often compete by promising more welfare schemes during elections. This leads to what political scientists call competitive populism. So the effect is policy decisions may focus more on short-term electoral benefits than long-term structural reforms. Critics sometimes describe these policies as populist, but empirical evidence suggests that many of these programs have produced tangible improvements in education, nutrition, and social inclusion. But the concern is of the rise of freebie culture, which is aimed at winning votes rather than addressing long-term development needs, which encourages dependency and increases government spending without necessarily improving productivity. Overall, having said all this, overall, Tamil Nadu's experience demonstrates that welfare policies can become institutionalized within governance structures and contribute to long-term social development. Then let us come to talk a bit about Kerala. Kerala is known for the human development model. Kerala model of development has attracted a lot of attention from scholars and policymakers. We all know about that. Kerala's development trajectory is unique because the state achieved impressive human development indicators despite relatively modest economic growth in earlier decades. The state has one of the highest literacy rates in India, a strong public health system, and extensive social security programs. The Kerala model emphasizes human capability development, investing in education, healthcare, and social welfare to enhance the well-being and productivity of citizens. Several factors contributed to this Kerala's achievement. These include land reforms, strong local self-government institutions, active civil society organization, and a long tradition of social mobilization. Kerala also pioneered participatory governance through decentralized planning initiatives, allowing local communities to participate directly in development decision-making processes. So the Kerala experience illustrates that welfare governance can be integrated with democratic participation and community empowerment. So if you look at these two models, the Tamil Nadu and Kerala, both prioritize social welfare. But Kerala model emphasizes human development and equality, while Tamil Nadu model combines welfare policies with industrial growth and political competition. So the Kerala model is praised for education, healthcare, and social equality, but criticized for slow industrial growth, high unemployment, and dependence on migrant remittances. Now coming to Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, let us talk a bit about it. They tell us the story of targeted welfare and direct benefit support. After the bifurcation of Andhra Pradesh in 2014, both states emphasized targeted welfare to support backward regions, promote inclusive development, and gain political legitimacy without creating unsustainable populist spending. The states of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana have also developed innovative welfare programs aimed at addressing rural distress, poverty, and social inequalities. These states have introduced a wide range of initiatives, including income support for farmers, pension schemes for elderly citizens, financial assistance for women's self-help groups, and housing programs for economically weaker sections. A notable feature of recent welfare initiatives in these states is the use of direct benefit transfer schemes or mechanisms which allow governments to transfer financial assistance directly to beneficiaries' bank accounts. This approach has considerably reduced leakages and improved transparency in welfare delivery. Additionally, women's empowerment programs and self-help group movements have played an important role in enhancing economic participation and social empowerment. These initiatives reflect a governance approach that combines welfare commitments with administrative innovations and digital technologies. Now let us talk about Karnataka. That is, it is a combination welfare governance and technological innovation of this state is worth mentioning. Karnataka provides another interesting example of welfare-oriented governance, particularly in the context of integrating welfare programs with technological innovation. The state has implemented several initiatives aimed at improving service delivery through digital governance platforms, online systems for land records, public service delivery centers, and digital databases for welfare beneficiaries have enhanced transparency and efficiency. At the same time, Karnataka has invested significantly in education, healthcare, and rural development programs. So the combination of welfare initiatives and technological innovation illustrates how government models can evolve in response to new challenges and opportunities. To put it in a perspective, Tamil Nadu focuses on universal welfare and social justice using broad schemes like midday meals and free electricity to reduce inequality. Andhra Pradesh and Telangana emphasize targeted welfare and direct benefit transfers to reach the most vulnerable, ensuring efficiency and accountability. Karnataka combines welfare with technological innovation using digital platforms like Seva Sindhu and e-governance for transparent citizen-centric delivery. So while Tamil Nadu relies on political populism, AP Telangana focus on policy-driven targeting, and Karnataka prioritizes efficiency and tech-enabled governance. All three models, or including four models, Kerala model, aim to improve human development, but they differ in approach, targeting, and delivery mechanisms. So, if we ask a question, what are the lessons that South Indian states offer to other regions of India? These experiences demonstrate that welfare policies can coexist with economic development. Investments in human capital yield long-term developmental benefits, that is the Kerala model. Democratic institutions can play a constructive role in promoting social welfare. Regional governance innovations can contribute to national development. So in an era where inequalities and social vulnerabilities continue to challenge societies worldwide, the lessons from South India highlight the importance of inclusive and human-centered development models. However, there are challenges. One of the basic concern is...
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
You have 1 minute.
Yes, fiscal sustainability. Extensive welfare programs require substantial financial resources, and governments must ensure that these expenditures remain sustainable in the long run. The second involves the risk of political populism, where welfare schemes may be designed primarily for electoral gains rather than long-term developmental outcomes. Then implementation gaps also remain a concern. Even well-designed welfare policies may face difficulties in reaching intended beneficiaries due to administrative efficiencies or corruption. Additionally, welfare policies must be complemented by economic policies that promote employment generation, industrial growth, and sustainable development. Without such integration, welfare programs alone cannot ensure long-term prosperity. So to conclude, while challenges remain, the experience of these states demonstrate the transformative potential of welfare governance. Welfare-oriented governance represents one of the most important approaches to achieving inclusive development in contemporary society. So the South Indian experience shows that governments can successfully combine welfare commitments with institutional innovation and democratic participation. The developmental trajectories of states such as Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, and Karnataka illustrate diverse pathways towards inclusive development. As scholars, policymakers, and practitioners, we must continue to explore new ways of strengthening governance systems that promote social justice, economic opportunity, and human dignity. We all know that the ultimate purpose of governance should not merely be the management of resources or the pursuit of economic growth. Rather, it should be the creation of a society where every individual has the opportunity to live with dignity, security, and hope for the future. Finally, as India continues to grapple with certain issues of inequality, poverty, and social justice, the lessons from South India's welfare governance models certainly offer some good insights for shaping future policy frameworks. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. With the permission of Chair Professor D. Devanathan, Political Science and Director, Student Affairs, Annamalai University, I would like to invite the next presenter, Dr. G. Subhalakshmi, talking about social reforms and women empowerment in South India.
Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, audible, ma'am.
At the outset, I take this opportunity to thank the Indian Research Association for having me here today. When I look at the panel of speakers, I could make out that most of them are, from the core political and the social aspects. And I believe as a law faculty, I would be contributing a little from the legal perspective of understanding gender relations and the social reforms connected to it. And of course, the women empowerment, focusing on South India. So I'll try to keep my briefing, the details very brief. With the permission of the chair and the co-chair, I would like to proceed further. And I also take this opportunity to convey my regards and thanks to Professor Devanathan and also Professor Krishna Murthy as the chair and co-chair of this particular session. So to start with, traditionally, if we try to look at South India, and the societies have always displayed a very complex mix of the families, particularly the patriarchy approach, and at the same time there is autonomy for women, no doubt about that. But somewhere we also have seen historically, I don't want to bifurcate this into different states like Madam just now did, like Professor Sheela, but I would like to keep it very generic in nature. So my focus would be to just see how traditionally the families have taken its approach, either on patriarchy or there are also matrilineal approaches which we see in Kerala. So both are equally available. On one side, we see property rights are well received, and the best example can be Kerala for the women property rights and their social standing, the social equality, and the literacy rates. All these are definitely positive about the Kerala. But still, when we take in general the South Indian approach, this family structures have influenced a lot when we talk about gender relations. And the gendered division of labor is also a contributing factor in understanding the gender relations and the social reforms. And also, what kind of cultural expectations do we have when we talk about marriage and maybe motherhood in continuation to. On one side, we see that there have been ill practices in the society. We need to look back just for us to understand how far we have come up. Not to bring back those shady times, but to recreate and to remind us that yes, we had rigid challenges in the gender relations, but still we have come far with many changes, and all these changes were possible because of the society and definitely I would also like to credit the legal development and the changes parallelly that are taking place. So when we look at Tamil Nadu, maybe the wage parity or the representation of women in the leadership roles, the workforce participation of women, all these have been encouragingly increasing in the recent times. But when we look at the history to see where we stand right now, there are certain practices which I really want to remind here the audience, like the social reform movements that have taken place in South India specifically. Like there are contributions from many social reformers, like Periyar is there, and a few others were also cited by the previous speaker. But I would like to mention Savitribai Phule here, though it has been, very constantly and very strongly advocated for women's rights, as well as Savitribai Phule is known for the reforms that are brought out in education, and that includes South India too. So like this, when we look at the social reformers, their influence of social reformers have been very heavy. And thanks to them, only because of their presence, we are having a very genuine and a positive kind of approach towards the respect and dignity of the genders, whatever be the gender. I do not want to specifically mention only as, the female gender. And, respectively, all the genders would come as part of this. When we take few examples like the dowry prohibition or maybe the abolition of Devadasi system, we had the sati practice. All these practices we do not want to remind, but just as I said earlier, this is only to remind and pat us that we have come across these kind of ill practices in the society. And yes, the society has, reflected back on these evil practices, and these have been completely removed from the society with the help of the legal luminaries and the legal developments. The expansion of women education, promoting widow remarriage, all these can be taken as examples. So anti-dowry movements, even though we talk about these ill practices, sati, which is known for the very reason that a woman to jump into the funeral pyre of the husband. If we imagine that such kind of a situation happens in the present day, people would only laugh at us. Or maybe a husband may be forced to jump into the fire, maybe. So now the times have changed. Gender roles, gender relations have gone a greater extent of change. These kind of ill practices, when we see, we cannot ignore, because there have been parallel changes that are happening in the society. There have been times when the society have accepted these practices. At the first place, our question should be, how did such practices, exist in the society, taking away the life of a person or the right of a person to live? So slowly, when we start thinking, we also see the social reformers have contributed a lot towards this understanding of the society, and these changes have slowly happened in the society. One-on-one, we have witnessed these changes. And I can quote few more examples. Just like Sati, we had the Widow Remarriage Act, and we also have Dowry Prohibition Act. In Dowry Prohibition Act, we can say that dowry is an ill practice. Giving and taking is illegal and it is punishable under the law. But people would definitely agree with me, even in the current situation, we have such kind of practices which are still existing in different parts of the country. And yes, South India is not a, example for that. So we have such kind of practices still happening throughout the country. Very recently, we heard that there are circulars and directions from the ministry to sensitize and create awareness to remove the dowry practices. So even in the current globalized situation, where we are talking about the digital era and the participation of women in almost all the spheres, we are still referring to sensitizing and creating awareness program for women, particularly to remove these kind of anti-dowry practices which are existing. It is definitely a sad picture, and I really want to shift towards the legal framework. So when we start thinking from the legal framework, of course, gender equality is at its best in the letters of the Constitution, in the letters through the different legislations in the country. To highlight a few, maybe the constitutional provisions that we are well aware of, Article 14, Article 15, Article 14, which talks about equality. And yes, in every respect, we are now marching towards a rights perspective, where each and every individual, irrespective of whatever gender they are professing and advocating for their rights. So no one is above law, and everybody should be treated equally in the eyes of law. When we take Article 15, wherein Article 15 emphasizes or gives a provision for affirmative action, positive discrimination. The word discrimination itself is taken as a negative sense, but it has been well coined to call it as positive discrimination, considering that women, children, elderly, disabled, all come under the vulnerable category, and these vulnerable people needs the kind of support for which positive discrimination is being allowed in our Constitution under Article 15. There are other provisions in our Constitution which focus on right to life and liberty under Article 21, and a specific mention in the DPSP about the welfare measures, maternity provision. All these things only remind us that yes, as per the legal framework or as per the law, we are trying to, bring in parity irrespective of the genders. A few legislation, the the Dowry Prohibition Act itself, or the Indecent Representation of Women Act, then being the property rights and the matrimonial affairs of the, the different religions. We have the Muslim laws, we have the Christian laws and the Parsi laws, we have Hindu laws. All these laws, on one side, yes, we are today professing and talking more about Uniform Civil Code. At the same time, we are also seeing the personal laws taking good care of the genders and trying to protect their rights on an equal, platform. But I would also want to, highlight here on the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Act, which came in the year 2013. And we know that the incident was triggered nearly 15 years before the act actually came into existence. And this incident which triggered the act, and by that time we never had an act to take care of this, protecting the women at the workplace. So it is only through the judicial activism and the interpretation of the judiciary, guidelines were issued, which landed on enactment of a new legislation. And on the other side, when we see that women, are they even safe in their own families? We should think very strongly. And to cite an example, I can give you the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act, which was enacted in the year 2005. Thus, this shows that women are not safe anymore in their houses. Rather, we should see it the other way. We should see it that the laws are ready to enter the doorsteps to see if the women are safe in their respective households. There are two versions. On one side, we can think that when there is a law to, go into the houses to see if the women are safe, does it indicate that the women are not safe in their houses? That is one way of thinking. And the other, the positive approach, or a very optimal way of thinking it is, yes, the rights are available to the women and the laws will enter into the doorstep to see the women are safe in their own households.
Ma'am, sorry to pause you. Sorry to pause you. We have 2 minutes remaining.
Pardon, sir?
You have 2 minutes remaining, ma'am.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. So this is just to give you a glimpse on one side, and parallelly we see that the laws are also, there are changes and amendments and developments taking in the laws to suit with the changes in the system. Few more examples from the globalized aspect if we take. We know stalking is only following a person physically, but now it is covering the cyber stalking also. So we have the Information Technology Act, which covers all the cyber-related crimes that are committed against women, and how women can be empowered. Judicial activism is also playing a very active role in order to uphold that women's dignity and autonomy should always be upheld. So South India, if you take, there are a lot of initiatives that are also taking place parallelly along with the legal measures. Like there are active self-help groups in Tamil Nadu and even the Kudumbashree schemes in Kerala. These are mainly to strengthen them and provide them more strength and empowerment, even from their financial aspect. So empowering them economically too. There are a lot of contemporary challenges and issues which are right in front of us. There are gender-based violences which are still continuing. Education, sorry for saying this, but yes, education does not even matter. We are very proud about the rates of literacy, but even in the given literacy, high rates of literacy, there are a lot of cyber harassments and gender-based violences which still continue. Yes, we are in a progressive stage, a lot of development in the name of laws and schemes and regulations. But the spirit has been well conveyed in the words of law, but there is a big gap in the practical, when we look at the practice and how it is implemented, there are a lot of, bumps and challenges. And these challenges are like persistent challenges which are still continuing in the society. So this is for us to ponder more upon this. And when we think about intersectionality also, women from the marginalized communities also face discrimination. One second, please. Also face discriminations at different levels, even at the workplace. And even if we see women are well placed in their employment, there is a gap in the, they are not at parity when it comes to their wages, or they are not seen in the highest positions in the institutions or in their workplace. So there is still a gap. So taking it forward, we need to think more about legal literacy, creating more kind of awareness, sensitization of rights among women, and how those voices can be heard to the public, and how institutions can also take a role in strengthening and implementing the effective role of women and empowering them in all the stages: education, economic development, more of sensitization, education and legal education specifically, and also inclusive policy making, how they can be part of all the, in their, just like the workers' participation, how women can be participating in all the levels in their workplace, even in the family level.
I'm sorry to interrupt. You exceeded 2 minutes.
Yes, sir. I'm just concluding with my final statement. I just wanted to say that it's a powerful instrument for change. There is a true impact, but it only depends on societal transformation and the awareness and collective responsibility that we hold. So with that, I stop and I pass on my thanks and regards to the organizers for giving me this opportunity.
I have one simple question. Excuse me, ma'am. Hello.
Yes, please.
I'm
Yes,
Karan,
please.
ma'am. I'm Karan, calling from Developmental district.
Okay.
Actually, you just touch up on the education system.
Hello, I think your audio is breaking, if I'm right.
Your audio is.
Yeah, actually, currently the education system.
Yes, the
Currently, the
audio
education
is
system
breaking.
on the
Your voice
rural
is breaking.
and
Mr. Saravanan?
Probably we go for
Your audio
questions
is
and answer
breaking.
at the next level after I'm the speaker.
Can you please type your question in the chat box?
Okay.
Sarvanam sir, you can type your question in the chat box, and otherwise you can also send your question in the group. And because we have one more speaker, and after that Professor Murthy will conduct the question and answer session, and we all will involve to that discussion. Yes, sir. Please, Murthy sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, with the permission of chair, it's great to invite Professor Afroz Alam, Professor of Political Science, Manu, Hyderabad, who talks about rethinking political dynamics in South India, especially from Telangana. Professor?
Okay, am I audible?
Yeah, Vikasji.
Thank you. So, thanks to Vikas for consistently pursuing us for this event and the whole idea of Indian Research Scholar Associations. And I guess Krishna Murthy Sahab is co-chairing this session. All right, so let me begin with a simple claim. And that claim is, if we want to understand the future of Indian politics, we must listen carefully to South India. And if we want to understand South India in motion, we must pay close attention to Telangana. So this is what my proposition. And why do I say so? Because Telangana is not just another state on the electoral map. It is a political laboratory born out of memory, movement, grievances, aspirations, negotiations with the center. Everything on plateau is with the Telangana. And you already know that it's a newest state came in 2014 after a very long struggle for a separate statehood. The reason has been earlier been a part of Hyderabad state and was merged with Andhra in 1956 before eventually becoming India's 29th state. So today, Telangana is having 119 assembly seats and 17 Lok Sabha, and it has a population of 3.5 crore by the 2011 census. And it's a most urban state. 39% of its population belong to the urban areas, making one of the urbanized state of India. So this is why Telangana matters. It is young, but politically intense. It is regional, but nationally consequential. It is shaped by sub-regional memory. If you want to see all debates in political science, whether it is a question of federalism, the center-state relationship, whether it's a question of welfare, that you will find the par excellent example of the Telangana delivering on welfare front, whether it's a question of identity, the Telugu identity itself is quite known across, whether it is a question of leadership, whether it is a question of caste, whether it is a question of Indian democracy, minority politics. So every aspect of the national nuances you can trace in the state of Telangana. So my central argument is that South India is not politically exceptional because it rejects national politics. Not at all. So it is distinctive because it filters national politics through strong regional histories, social coalitions, welfare expectations, and linguistic cultural confidence. So Telangana, as one of the youngest states, demonstrate this filtering process, what we can see in a very sharp and articulate form. So my friend, that we cannot avoid the political nuances what is happening in the state of Telangana, because the Telangana shows, and particularly South India, that the national parties can also rise in South India. And but only when they learn to speak in the local idiom. Not the national narratives will not operate. So if they will come up with the regional narratives, the people may accept them. We have seen in Telangana a national party like Congress doing very well and having almost 39% votes in assembly elections and almost 45% votes in the national elections 2024. Similarly, we have seen BJP doing very well, achieving 35% votes in the regional state, where the regional parties are often dominant. So it also shows, the one is the national parties will get a space. The second trend is that regional party can dominate for long periods, but they are never guaranteed performance. If they are not delivering, they can also be toppled from the seat. So idea is that both national and state politics are very much operational in the state of Telangana. To understand Telangana, we must begin with 2014, and even earlier as well. We can say that Telangana politics carries with three deep inheritance. If you have to generalize the entire Telangana framework, the first is the memory of historical unevenness, that between region and region, canal and dry land, dominant language and local speech, promised safeguards and actual outcomes. You have seen that how that Telangana has experienced while they were being united with Andhra Pradesh. The second is the legacy of mobilization we have seen. That students are mobilizing, employees are mobilizing, the intellectuals, cultural activists, political entrepreneurs all helped convert grievance into a statehood movement. That's quite an interesting experience. So the third is the politics of dignity in Telangana. You can see that Telangana was not only an administrative demand by the people of Telangana. It was also a claim about recognition. Recognition of what? Recognition of the dialect, recognition of region, recognition of their history, recognition of the distributive justice. And this is where theory helps us. So the political scientists often debate whether voting is shaped more by class or more by caste or by charisma of the leader or institution or ideology. Means what is shaping our voting preferences? South India reminds us that these are rarely separate worlds. Electoral politics is usually built through layering. It's not one aspect can tell you a concrete picture. A voter may think at once about welfare. The other point, he will be thinking about caste, locations, or the regional mode, or you can say that religious identity or the leadership. So anything that entire nuances of the voting determinants you can find in Telangana, because this layering is being intensified in this particular state. So I want to say that the state was created through a regional movement governed for a decade by the very party that led to that movement. So that is TRS. We know that now it is called BRS. And then opened up. Once the whole 10-year cycle was complete, the entire electoral terrain of the Telangana entered into a competitive phase where both Congress and BJP sought to occupy the post-movement space of Telangana. So the idea is that the 10 years period. So in that particular sense, Telangana invite us to revise the lazy assumptions which we generally make, and that once a movement succeeds, the political vehicles remain secure. You cannot, even a party which led the movement cannot have a certainty of power all the time. So that is not how democracy works as well. Movements, I personally feel that movements create legitimacy, no doubt about it. But governance tests it. If you are not delivering on the fronts of the governance, then nothing is going to happen. And when election happens, it distributes the entire phenomena. So that is what the Telangana story is all about. Look at the 2023 elections. I can say that because I guided almost every political party. At some point, I was guiding one political party. Another phase, I guided another one. So while being a part of the actual policy making and guiding political parties in their campaign mode, we have seen that how Telangana 2023 elections turned out. And you have seen that the Congress securing 64 seats, just a thin majority out of 19 to form the government, while BRS, which consistently ruled on Telangana for 10 years, secured 39 seats, and BJP on 8, MIM 7. So in terms of votes, we have seen that there is no much difference, that the voters did not reject completely BRS, both because there is only 2% vote share gap, but they rejected their MLAs because there was a huge anti-incumbency. So anti-incumbency against party and anti-incumbency against government, both are different phenomena. Many a times people may not like a political party, but they like the candidate who are contesting the elections. And sometimes they may not like the candidates, but they like the party. This is what the case happened in Telangana as well. The people generally liked BRS, but they rejected the candidates, and which I personally had the prima facie experience when I was advising BRS KCR, saying that you change 40 candidates, you will win the path. And KCR with all might saying that there cannot be anti-incumbency against BRS in the state of Telangana. So that was also an overconfidence by a party. Second aspect is that Congress, that is, BRS did not vanish. This result is saying, but it remained substantial for that. We have seen 2024 election, it got reduced from 38% to 17%. Recently, the Panchayat election happened, municipality happened, place assembly election, where they regained their vote base. So what they lost traditionally, at least it came out that the people did not reject completely the Gandhi of Telangana, but KCR. The second aspect was that Congress converted a relatively close vote share context into a decisive seat sharing. So the point is that it is still dependent upon another regional party called MIM in case some defections happen. Recently, we have seen that how defections are also affected the state of Telangana. Similarly, a national party BJP got its own space in the state of Telangana. So what happened in 2023? In plain language, if I have to generalize the entire phenomena, I think it can be it can be generalized as three aspects which can be adequately understood. The first one is that anti-incumbency repent. So that is 10 years in office is not a short period. In a democratic state, the same thing happened in some, so the whole idea of Bangaru Telangana, when it was not executed, the people got fatigued, the MLAs did not deliver. The second aspect was that identity found a regime, but delivery sustained it.
So sorry to interrupt you, Professor.
Cannot indefinitely substitute for distributive credibility. If you will, because until there is a local access, there is a organizational renewal and opening the channel for young forces, you cannot have a greater sustainability in the state. So yet Telangana did not stop there.
Hello?
The 2024 elections we have seen, it produced an even more striking pattern. And that is that Congress, BJP winning 8 seats. How much time am I left? Should I be accordingly? I will be.
You have 2 minutes remaining, sir.
The 2 minutes. So the idea is that the whole transition in Telangana, we have seen ultimately through multiple layers. So my whole argument is that the politics of South India, including Telangana, cannot be reduced to a welfare alone. So welfare matters enormously, but welfare succeeds politically when it is joined with other nuances as well. So KCR delivered in terms of the so many schemes, but everything is not being pointed out in a right direction. So when we say rethinking political dynamics in South India, let us not think of the South as a peripheral chapter after the so-called national story. The South is central to the national story equally, and Telangana, with all its movement, memory, contradictions, and energy, is one of the most important notes in that story. So, not a footnote, not an exception, rather a warning for the national politics, and perhaps a more important for the democratic future of India. Thank you, everyone, for this space.
Thank you, Professor. Any question and answer specifically, please mention to the speaker. Any questions, you too can type in a chat box.
If you have any question to any participants, so please unmute yourself and you can ask directly to the question to the speakers. Otherwise, you can type your question in the chat box. Professor Dr. Sarvananan M, you are asking that time something.
I think his audio was not proper.
Yeah, yes.
Mr. Saravanan?
Yeah, I think he has left.
No, he is in the session.
Okay, Vikasji, uh,
Yes, Hemant ji.
Uh, Thank you. So basically, I would like to hear from Dr. Kiran. Dr. Kiran, sir.
Yep, I'm here.
Sir, you mentioned the book The End of Protest, a new playbook for revolution by Mika White. In this book, the author distinguishes between traditional and modern forms of protest and suggests that the next phase of activism will be a revolution of revolution. So, in this context, could you please share your insights on this emerging phase of activism, which
I think even I was also thinking about what could be the imagination of upcoming social movements, nature of social movement. I think maybe a very limited understanding of Indian social movement. I'm coming up with this explanation. I think the feminist movement in the world, especially from India, provided a kind of a methodology which might help us. For example, the feminist movement told us what is a reference to protest against the power structure. We cannot depend on history. We cannot depend on the writing which are already there. We cannot depend on narrative which are already there because they are all patriarchal. Then what is the reference point for changing the power structure? Then they come up with the one important argument saying that it is the experience. I think this is one of the important insight I derived from the feminist argument to formulate the contemporary social movement using the experiences of the downtrodden people. I think that we need to theorize more effectively rather than depending upon history or already no existing narrative. So this is a one way of rejuvenating social movement in our contemporary time. For example, we are talking about globalization, privatization, and then it created a beautiful society and so on and so forth. But if you analyze the quality of employment that the privatization created since from the 25 years in this country, they are very pathetic, right? If we are capable to theorize the experiences of these victims of this the low quality of employment, so maybe that might help the contemporary social movements to come up with the new language and come up with the new terminology to address the people. This is what I'm thinking. I might not perfect in my presentation, but I think our experiences must be addressed rather than the existing narrative or existing understanding about social movement. I mean to say, we need to have a new language. For example, last one comment I just wanted to make, Zazak, I hope you heard the Zazak. He said one beautiful thing. We are thinking free because the very lack of the language to articulate our unfreedom. Very interesting statement that he made. We are thinking free or we are believing free because we don't have a language to articulate our unfreedom. I think we are in that particular situation. I think we need a new language. I think we need today's contemporary social movement need a new kind of a connotation, new kind of an argument, and that will come through going back to our experiences and developing some kind of a framework or some kind of a language, some kind of a dialogue. Using our experiences can help us to start rejuvenate the contemporary social movement. Thank you.
thank you, sir.
any other questions?
Murthy sir, one question we have in the chat box.
Uh, Yeah, there is one question, and this is for whom? This is for Madam Dr. G. Subhalakshmi. Ma'am?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm just reading the question. How do we reach town area education different and difficult problem for the present year, madam? Current research scholar based on lot of problem is kindly help. Okay, I don't get his question. Maybe he's trying to ask the divide between the rural and urban when it comes to education and research.
Yeah, even I think same.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, even I think
Am I
same.
right?
Yeah, research.
Okay. Yes, because when it comes to research, there are inherent challenges again, be it in rural or the urban. But the focus for research scholars, particularly this is, research association. So the motivation should be carrying out research and identifying the challenges and taking it to the next step. So we do have problems in the rural, when you go for data collection in the rural, definitely there are problems. But I think as researchers, you should be self-motivated and try to take your, questions, keep your questions simple. When you are going with the scheduled questions, you should also see that you have some support from the vernacular language, from the local language, so that, that can help you. This is just a suggestion from my side.
Okay, there is another question by Stevenstein, who request to address difference between political system in North and South India. It's entirely different. I think this can be.
I think one quick answer that we can. Sorry, Dr. Krishnamurthy sir. One quick answer to this question. If you look at from a political party point of view, there is a difference in our politics between South and North. But if you look at as a political scientist from a constitutionalism, we have one politics. So I think if we take narratives of political party, we might feel that there is a difference between North and South political system. But if we look at from the constitutionalism, we have one politics that we need to think more about rather than buying a argument from political party. We need to buy an argument from our own constitution. Thank you.
Yeah, very truly said.
Any addition to Professor approach, sir, to this question? Because she has sent the she has asked.
Yeah.
You. Yes.
Professor Alam, sir.
Yeah.
That see what we can generalize in terms of that the idea of constitutionalism, no doubt about it, that it's an idea and it's already enshrined while having a constitution. But the political nuances at the ground level varies from north to south when we actually contest the elections. An idea is that if I have to generalize the entire South politics, that the South India is not anti-national, and rather it is anti-uniformity. So you cannot have uniform politics across India. It resists one size fits all type of politics is the one. The second aspect which I personally feel the South Indian politics differ is the regional memory still matters. So it has their own history, memory, which compete with performance. And the third aspect which I personally feel that voters increasingly distinguish between state and national narrative. So, and they equally deliver a different outcome in these state and national elections. If you will analyze the electoral contest across. So split mandates are not anomalies. They are signal of democratic sophistication. The fourth thing which I personally feel about the South and North, that the national parties can grow in the South only by becoming regionally intelligible. So you cannot all the time come up with a national narrative and fit into the regional space of the South India. The another aspect is that the urbanization does not erase old identities in the South India. You can see that. While it is different in the Northern India, you will have almost all hybridization. But in the Southern India, we have seen that the regional identities still remain intact in the urban spaces. It recombines them with the aspirations of the youth. This is what I personally feel about the North and South. It's not about being different in something like that. It have a different taste.
Yeah, I think the candidate got the answer. Vikas ji?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I think the last question, sir, we have in the chat box, sir. So I think Professor Lakshmi or Sheela madam will address this, and after this we will end the session, sir.
Yeah, there is a question. Yeah. My question is, to what extent is truly inclusive? Yeah, I already said each governance model is different. Even if you call it a South India, the perspectives are different. The way we look at welfare governance is different. Administration is contextual. Governance is contextual. It is a response to a specific socio-political situation. So in that context, there are some success stories, there are some concerns, there are some challenges. It is not that totally the development is inclusive. So I highlighted some features where Tamil Nadu looks at, how linking welfareism with economic growth, and how Kerala looks at a human development model, and how Andhra Pradesh and Telangana look at a targeted, welfare distribution system, and how Karnataka has linked with innovation and digital transformation. So these things vary. So we can draw best practices from these different states. So no practice is absolute, and we have to view any welfare model in its context. That is very, very important. So from what all I have said in my presentation, there are some good practices which can be adapted, not replicated. So to a great extent, the tribal population, has benefited considerably, but there are still challenges, and that challenges need to be addressed periodically. That is what you cannot have a definite answer to what the question has been raised. It is evolving. It is evolving. Hello, sir. How are you, Afroz?
I'm good, Sheela ma'am. How are you? Good to see you here.
Yeah, good to see you. Because of Vikas Kumar, we met like this.
True.
Thank you, madam.
Yeah.
Yes, Murthy sir, please.
Yeah, I think it's time to conclude. Yeah, it was a great pleasure to be a co-chair in this occasion. Concluding, the first topic was talked by speaker Dr. Kiran, Trajectories of Social Movement in India. He said the overall view of the social movement in India, giving with the three phases: socio-religious part and anti-colonial part, and new social movement, which emphasizes today's crisis in regional identity and woman-oriented movements and digital participation. And he also quoted a good book like Macam Writers, The End of Protest. Okay, where he concluded today's social movement has to do something with a disturbing approach of the crisis, and he gave positive elements like the participation of more members in digital social media, etc. Secondly, the speaker, Professor Sheela Reddy, talked about governance and development model. It was very good. She talked about exact model that is being adopted by Tamil Nadu, Kerala, AP and Telangana, Karnataka. Tamil Nadu specifically like a universal welfare model. Kerala again HDI model, Human Development Index. And AP Telangana on target welfare model, and Karnataka on governance and technological innovation model, which gave a good contemporary development programs of today's government in the governance. Thirdly, Dr. G. Subhalakshmi ji talked about gender relation who specifically spoke about social reforms and women empowerment in South India. Speaking about patriarchal system and women rights, he specifically quoted with the act and articles and constitution law that is being adopted for the development and the growth of women empowerment. Thirdly, Professor Alam sir talked about the rethinking of political dynamics in South India, focusing on Telangana. He talked about the combination comparing between center and state as Telangana as one representing the nation. Telangana is a unique identity of Indian coin like young state. He talked about the national and state politics of historical, regional, populational, mobilizational factors with the political dignity of giving a instant example of TRS or BRS, which is one, and party versus the candidate reference. I think overall it was very good. I next move to Vikas, and I congratulate all the speakers. It was a very wonderful insight for me too, and even the audience. Thank you, professors. Vikas,
Yes, sir. So for the formal vote of thanks, I would like to invite to Professor Sunita ji. Madam, are you here?
Hello, yeah. Good afternoon, everyone of you. Actually, it is a time of good evening. Everyone of you all, hi. This is Dr. Sunita. On behalf of Indian Research Scholar Association, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to all my esteemed guest speaker for the day, Dr. Kiran, Dr. Sheela ma'am, Dr. Subhalakshmi ma'am, and Professor Afroz Alam sir for their insightful sessions and the way that they had explained and targeted each and everything. It is really that I would like to appreciate Dr. Kiran ma'am that she has straightforwardly spoken about the social religious movement in India. If I'll talk about Dr. Sheela ma'am, that her enlightening sessions, welfare oriented government schemes, simply ma'am have given the example of Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana. She clearly illustrated how inclusive politics, welfare structures, government's model contribute to the social upliftment. And actually, for today's sessions, if I'll say it is my personal view, till what extent it is needed to know economic growth despite all financial constraint, that how the state is managing and enriching to the people for the enhancement of a state. And also if I'll talk about Dr. Subhalakshmi ma'am, that her legal dimensions for social reforms are very clear, very enlightful. It is of my personal suggestions also that should be reached to the each and every one of the citizens. What kind of the laws are there that we need to consider. Also, she have enlightened the rights for the women, contribution of Savitribai Phule, and important legal frameworks such as Dowry Prohibitions Act, law, social reforms, Sati Pratha. Ma'am have explained so well, and also she have enlightened words on the self-help group. If I'll talk about Professor Afroz Alam sir, his insightful sessions, it's all about the future politics to the South India, particularly Telangana. He has emphasized the Telangana is not just a state, but yes, our thoughts, ideas, views, how do we can take it to the next level. After the changes of 2014, the urbanization, democratic questions, welfare structures, he also included the three main dimensions: historical memories, mobilizations, culture, and politicals of dignity. I am extremely sorry, sir, if I am going to miss out anything. Please make me correct. He have given the profound understanding of evolving the political dimensions. And I would also like to extend my sincere thanks to all the participants, Indian Research Scholar Associations, Vikas sir, Hemant sir, and those who are actively participated here, all my questioner, the person who have asked the questions. Once again, everyone, the thank you to every one of you all. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Pranam Sheela ma'am. Namaste Alam sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll take your leave.
Thank
Okay, sir. Murthy sir, if you are the center, so I am coming to the JNU Chester.
How long does it take, Vikasji?
I think at 5 p.m. Otherwise, we will meet tomorrow, sir.
Yeah, we can meet tomorrow.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Have a nice time, Vikasji.
Okay. Thank you, participants. And our next academic session will start from 4 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Okay, thank you to all participants.